Greetings to you, my listening friend. Welcome to 2023. I hope you are well, and I hope that as you look back on 2022, you will see how the Lord has led you and your family, and that this will give you increased faith to walk with God even more closely in 2023. My prayer for you and your family is that God will bless you superabundantly and grant you the cherished desires of your heart. The fourth commandment says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. In this commandment we are informed that God worked. In this commandment we are informed that we must work. We do not do that work on the Sabbath day, even as God did not do the work of creation on the seventh day, the Sabbath. God has his work. You and I have our work. Let us apply that spiritually. Salvation is a work. The work of salvation is the work of God. That is his responsibility. Your work and mine is to trust and continually cooperate with God. As verily as God has his work, my listening friend, you and I have our work, and our work is cooperation by faith in the Word of God, cooperation by faith in the requirements of God, because no one can be saved without a cooperative response to the love and the salvation that God made available through Jesus Christ. I say again, the Sabbath should remind us that God has a part to play, and he plays his part faithfully. We have a role to execute, and we must execute it as fully as God executed his. What I mean by that is, as God does his faithfully at the divine level, you and I should do ours faithfully at the human level. Salvation is the result of cooperation between divine and human. The Bible tells us frequently, strive to enter in at the straight gate. The Bible tells us, fight the good fight of faith. The Bible tells us, hold fast that which thou hast. In other words, we must make an effort to cooperate with God, to obey God, to walk in the requirements of God. This is our work. This work does not save us, but this work tells God that we desire to be saved. As you keep the Sabbath holy, remember that God has a role to play in your salvation. It is the primary role, but God's work will be of no avail to you and to me if we do not do our work. And as I said earlier, our work is the work of trusting in God, in cooperating with God, in walking in the steps that God has laid out for the person who desires to be saved. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the work of cooperating with God must be done 7 days a week, because the work of saving and preserving that which is saved is done 7 days a week. My dear friend, God has his part to play. You have yours to play, and the Sabbath commandment tells us that both God and we have work to do. As you keep the Sabbath holy, let it be a reminder that as verily as God did his work and he did his part first, you and I are called upon to do ours through the enabling power of Jesus Christ. No one is saved in idleness. No one is saved without active cooperation with God. May the Lord bless you as you and your family keep the Sabbath holy.